Any thoughts on stock buybacks? Allegedly, April was the busiest month of buyback activity ever.
Yeah, it's a huge topic that you really need to be aware of, and this works both ways, of course. So stock buybacks, and we've heard this many times being on the road from both institutional investors and the sell side. You know, in some cases, some sell side desks will have up to a third of their daily flow or volume is actually buybacks on their desk. So just think about that in context in a very illiquid market if you were to take out the buybacks. Now that will happen. Don't forget that companies are generally moronic about these things, and I don't use that word loosely. Moronic, you can look it up. In other words, they're pro-cyclical. They buy high and they freak out low. What you will note, in 2009, there were not a lot of buybacks. So now at the all-time high, of course, you need to buy back the stock. And don't forget that in many cases, this is because a lot of companies are starting to miss revenue and earnings targets. So they got to really change the narrative for Joey Stockpicker, because Joey Stockpicker's like, they missed my earnings number, but they can buy back the stock. You know, it's called thesis drift. But again, the management teams are under increasing pressure to do that when they have no incremental return on invested capital to deploy their monies in, which would, by the way, include hiring people or deploying capex, which unfortunately just aren't happening at this stage of the late cycle. But again, there's another side to this coin, which is in the blackout period. You can't buy back your stock right before you report the quarter. So what we have seen most recently in the week or the 10 days before or into and out of the blackout period, we see a lot of volatility because you're taking out a huge component of the bid, you know, and that's going to be that is a big issue. I mean, volume is drying up, and when that goes away, we've seen what happens, and it happens fast.